Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fitness Pro Mentors podcast. I'm really excited today. We are going live both on YouTube and on Facebook, and this is going to be available under the Fitness Pro Mentors podcast on Spotify. Listen, this group is committed to helping smart trainers like you, educated folks, have the business of their dreams. And what I love about what we're going to do today is there are some people you know and love that are brilliant and are doing some amazing things, and I'm excited to just chat with them. So this is the BIOMECHANICS Bonanza number 2. Almost couldn't say that. Last time was my birthday. Today is not my birthday. Today feels like a birthday, though, because I get to join it with awesome people. And first and foremost, I'm going to write Jacques H. Newell-Taylor. Jacques, how you doing today, man?
Doing all right, thanks. How about you?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
All right.
And it's a beautiful day. Listen, I feel like can relate to you. I'm losing my hair. And you have just made it look so good that when I think about my hair being gone, I'm like, if I look half as good as Jacques, life will be really good.
Ooh, wow, man, that's a low bar, but hey, I'd say start getting used to just shaving it off, develop the habit,
Well, I figure when I'm 38, the same age as you are right now, that's when I'll do it, and it'll be pretty good.
There you go. That's it, man.
Excellent. Well, I'm super excited to have you here. And anyone who's listening to this, Jacques and I and another special guest are going to be doing something in the next few weeks, month or so. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But Jacques, I feel like I'm milking you for all your resources, but I love having you here.
I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. I love to share information. I always learn. So it's good, man.
Excellent, man. And I think that what we will do, I think Mr. Clay, I feel like Curtis Clay with the lighting and the Shure microphone. Look at the vibes he's got. Oh, man. Curtis, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Rock on,
Good,
man.
good.
Dude, you got a vibe right now with the white headphones and the flat brim hat and that shirt. I mean, it's intense, and the shirt matches your background. Like, whoo.
A little bit. Yeah, my daughter, she picks my outfits every morning. So she picked it. The shoes actually kind of match too. So
dang, chicks.
She did her thing, Gotta let her be creative and explore.
Oh my gosh. If my son picked my shirt, it would just be all like cars and puppies, which would be okay.
I love it.
Wait,
Awesome.
how old is she now?
4. Yeah, she's 4, and then honors 2, a little over 2. So it's wild. It's great.
I feel like that's a good age. Mine are 2.5 and 9 months, and I still got like the baby kind of thing with the 9-month thing. She's amazing. I love her. But when they're both walking around talking and doing stuff, I feel like it's going to be a game changer.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's awesome.
And speaking of childlike proportions, here's Mr. Michael Goulden.
Gosh, man.
Sorry.
Shots
It's a
fired.
low blow.
I'm
Low
just
blow.
kidding, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, that is low. Anyway, Michael, welcome, sir, from Integra Education. Michael, I love having you on, man. How you doing, sir?
I am very good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Excellent. Well, listen, Michael, I mean, you've been absolutely crushing it with all the Integra Education stuff. Honestly, your branding, your messaging, and getting everything out there, it's just been super clear. I know we joked around the circle marketing thing last time with you using circles in such a strategic way, but it's just been looking absolutely awesome, man. Like you're doing incredible.
We're trying to do something. If one of our mistakes comes off, then I'm happy. So yeah, we're doing all right.
Awesome. Well, so one of the things that we're doing for this format is ask everyone here to bring a question and talk through it, because I like this group. We've got such a diverse group of people from all over the world. And Jacques, I always love your mind. You always have a great way of thinking of things. So how do you feel about kicking this whole thing off?
Oh, sure. It'd be my pleasure to kick this whole thing off. Michael, whenever you do something for years, and then pretty soon it's like decades that you've been engaged in something, and you're doing it at a I'll call it a high level. How do you continue to stay curious and to not only be curious, but make what you do more profitable?
Ooh.
There's two separate questions there. I think that's the first one's easy. The second one, I'm not as easy. I think the first one. So how to stay more curious? I think having a really poor memory and having what is in effect an enforced beginner's mind.
Right.
I got no idea what I'm doing, and so every day is, we all may have done this collectively for 100 years, but every day is not quite day one. There's something in there. There's something in the back of the brain, but I think it really is that, like not expecting to see patterns, not expecting to see this kind of magic sequence. And
What?
I thought there was a playbook for this thing.
Yeah. I thought at some point you could go bench press, lat pull down, leg press.
Fixed. Boom.
That's it.
Done. I love it.
And then maybe a single leg press, and there that's it. You've broken the system.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I think that's the biggest one for me. It's this being comfortable with the concept of winging it, making it up as we go along. And that has negative connotations for some people. If I say that to my nearest and dearest, they really kind of resist that, and they go, "No, you've been doing this for a long time. You need to kind of have the answers." And it's like, I don't have any answers.
Right. I feel that, man.
Jacques, what do you got? I see you marinating.
Yeah, I see it too. It's churning.
See. So one of the things that I'm so glad you just said, Michael, is, and that takes a lot of courage, a shit ton of courage. Excuse me, FCC, a lot of courage to say winging it, right? Because the connotation is to do without care, to doing without care. But what you're talking about is quite the opposite. And so what you and I have struggled with, and I've seen you struggle with it, I've been less apparent about my struggle with it, but it's when I'm preparing for a session, what do I write down? When I'm done with the session, what do I write down? And then let's say I do neither. Does my client suffer? And at this stage of the game, they don't, right? But it doesn't mean that there's no care involved. It doesn't mean that it's careless. It doesn't mean that no note gets taken, but it's not like what I used to try to do. It's on level 6 for 14 reps, effort level. Man, I used to have this shit drilled down. Excuse me, I got a potty mouth. I used to drill down to to the degree of elbow flexion and how much sweat they were producing in which armpit, truly.
Right.
And I had samples. It's amazing. But I know that our staff can't start there, but I am with you, Michael. I've just engaged in the process of hiring somebody for the first time and trying to figure out, how do I want to impart this system on them? How do I get them to skillfully do this? And it's not by trying to quantify the crap out of everything. I'm not saying that doesn't have a place, but man, I'm with you that there has to be a generous amount of space and openness. Otherwise, you missed it.
Right.
I mean, frankly, you missed it.
Right, man.
So thanks, man.
Yeah.
I love that, Jacques. I mean, I think that Jacques, of all people, I think that you in another part of your world could relate to this, because playing the saxophone and then also playing jazz. I mean, how many different scales have you practiced? How many different ways have you practiced moving your fingers? How many times have you practiced using your mouth and building up all of these skill sets? So when you go on stage to improvise a solo and you go, I got 6 bars, I'm going to make something that's mellow. I'm going to make something that's intense. And it's just like you have a tone, and then you have all these skills that you get to pull from to try and make something happen. It's like when you walk into a session. Yeah.
And not only that, though, Brandon, this is a key thing. There are cats who try to pre-write their solos, and you can tell it sounds stale and corny and cheesy, right? But if you go in there and you just really stand in with that band and just feel what they're putting down, you say, okay, let's try this idea. And it gets a little sideways, you know how to bend it back because of what you've practiced. And it's the same thing in a training session, right? Yeah.
I love it.
How
Everything
did
is
you
preparation.
get to that point? If you think about with your clients, how did you get to that point where winging it or feeling it or playing the tune that's required on that day? How do you reach that point? Because it's not just repeating the same stuff that you did in the first 6 months of working. You haven't just repeated that for the last 55 years.
Right.
88 years ago, you started on this journey, and
He's not far off. He's just 3 years off. It's okay. It's all right. Really, it comes back to this. I'm just curious. This is the same question for all of us. It is really inventing that spirit of curiosity. And every now and then, you get these. As you're being curious, you get these. I'll call them torrents of information that you work with, and as you explore that information, it really makes you go, wait a minute. So it doesn't make a darn bit of difference whether I do this or this, right? As long as these things don't happen. Okay, right? So it's, yeah, it is, yeah. So the curiosity that's the big part. That's the big part, and we all started there, all of us. And that's the thing that has kept us, I think, relating to each other is where some people their curiosity ran out, ours continued to flourish. It continued to go, but what if? And why and how. So
Johnny Cook's here, and he just commented something that I thought was really, really good. And it's getting caught up being 100% right about something that really only matters the 1%. And I think that that's really kind of cool because I think you have to kind of do this. Like you have to go through the seasons of hanging out with Tom and learning mechanics at a level that's just like over the top. And learning all the words, and you got to spend the time learning about the business. You have to go through those seasons, so that way, when you get to the time to improvise, you have those things to call on. And then I was just joking in one of our study groups today. It's when you're actually performing. If someone outside is watching you, it seems like a really boring season. It doesn't seem like a cool, exciting season because what you're delivering to the person is not all the fancy stuff. It is not. It really is music. It comes out smoothly and has a specific tone. So I think that's super cool.
If I can add to that a little bit, I think what's cool about what you guys are talking about with music and stuff, I mean, preferences in music, preferences in beats, the customer or the client is defining how good the experience was. And I think that what's really cool about that is somebody watching might be like, that's not super cool, or that's not Instagram post worthy, or whatever it is. But really, the person in front of you, you're performing for an audience of one. And if they are giving you a standing ovation, right, of like, that's exactly what I was looking for, we've done our job, right? And I think that comes back to the winging it, which I get, Jacques, I loved your definition, and that's how we perceive that word. But really, it's like, no, I'm also reading the person. I'm reading them every rep, every set. I'm looking for a little move in their face. I'm looking for all these things to where it's like, oh, hold on, pause. I might have played the wrong note right there. Sorry. Thank you for your feedback. Let's keep going. So I think that's really cool to like the person in front of you is the one that's deciding whether it was a solid thing that they were looking for, right? That's the beat I wanted to hear. That's the mood I was in or whatever it is. And I think that's kind of the fun part of the winging it or innovating or whatever you guys want to call it. I mean, whoever's listening, like however you guys want to think about it, but it's that person in front of you who you're quote unquote performing for,
It makes me think of one other thing about this too, and this is a Purvis-ism, I think. It's earning the right to, right? I can remember when I was first learning jazz, and they're like, "You're not going to improvise yet. You're not going to improvise yet. You're going to learn the head. You're going to learn the changes. You're going to learn this stuff. You might even transcribe a few solos here and there and learn to play those. You're not going to do that just yet, right?"
Right.
And I think that so that people listening aren't thinking, oh, these guys are just going in and they're making stuff up. They go, I want to do a bench press today, so you're going to do a bench press. No. It really is exploring all these different ingredients and exploring it. It's really trying to understand, how does this stimulation affect this system, right? And yeah, so it's not haphazard. I'd love it if we could brainstorm on what the word would be. Right. Well, it is the we'll call it the familiar term would be winging it, but we know that has a lot of not so great connotations. So then what would it be that when you
would it potentially not just be purposeful improvisation? I mean, because you're really going up and you're like, I have a purpose. This purpose today is to help this person with this. But how we get there has multiple roads. I mean, I love to think of it like when I drive home, I've got 6 different roads that I can take. One takes 3 minutes, one takes 4, one takes 6, and then one takes 8 minutes. And they all go different ways. And I can drive there as fast as I can, and I can smash a bench press down on this individual so they bench press 200 pounds. Or I can skip the car accident and go a different road. Or I can go the scenic route to have a different experience because I'm having a bad day and I need to experience a bit of nature on the way home. It's going to take me 3 times as long to get home. So it is improvisation. I mean, those are not improvisational driving examples, but it's really like this. And I'd love to hear other ideas. I think it's this purposeful improvisation. You know, you're going in there. We're going that way. We've got a lot of different roads that can get there. And that's what's exciting.
I guess you just mentioned 4 different variables. And I'm not a maths wizard. Someone else can figure this out. But in those 4 variables, and you had 6 of one and 1 of the others, how many different permeations do you have? So I guess through experience, through the collective 100 years that we've got of going down that road and realizing there's a dead end, and going down this road and realizing it's too narrow to fit 2 cars, and going down this road, you start to learn a path. And so you do that over the course of your journey, and then you realize that you become limited, and now you're just doing leg press, lat pull down, and bench press, and you become limited in terms of your roads. And then all of a sudden you start to look for someone. I mentored with Jacques for a long time, because he would just go, that's good, you're thinking about those 2 things, but what about these 100 things? And I'd be like, and it was amazing. So you've got all of these now options for you to go and explore. And we were actually talking about this in class today in the break, and someone was talking about, should you do this version of a hack score or this version? And the common, I think there's a debate somewhere where someone's saying you should do this one and you should do this one. And they were like, what do you think? And I'm like, I haven't really thought about this today. So let's think about it together. What's missing from that statement? And we listed, and it wasn't, it was a 10-minute break. So we only listed 15 things. So you've got to consider those 15 things before you can choose which one you're going to do. And that comes back from, who we're talking about, what's their goal, what do they have on tolerate? And then let's look at all the resistance variables, and then let's look at the physiological variables, and are they taking supplements? Are they on this particular supplement? Because that's going to change their outcome, and And it was such a an opening for everyone, and everyone just dived in there, and everyone feels comfortable. But imagine if you're just starting, imagine if someone's watching and they're just starting in the industry, and it's 1 year in, and it's like, how do you build a program? That would be overwhelming. There's got to be a trip switch before we open that Pandora's box. And that's why I was like, to like, Curtis, why are you so comfortable and so adept at feeling the freedom that comes from all of these variables, being able to step into the unknown, and be able to build something fresh?
Yeah, I think I know that saying where it's like there's no such thing as failing, there's only learning. And I think that I've taken that to heart. And I do well in different situations. And what I mean by that is, like, I do well with, like, okay, I want to go at my pace, but I also do well when, like, somebody takes a fire hydrant to me, information, and I can like then debrief and go back from there. So for me, like I'm okay with stepping into the all those variables or an uncomfortable situation. I think also that's part of my upbringing, like things that I went through growing up and stuff like that. So I'm able to, like, when there's a storm around me or there's a lot going on, I can almost like function well and weed out the noise. And so I think I enjoy that because I feel like when I'm in those environments, all my sensory's on and I can lock in. So like when a client says to me, like, my knee is killing me today, you know, and I'm afraid to do this or whatever it is, I'm like, okay, cool. To me, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Okay. Then in my head, I'm pulling out these files. If I'm using an analogy of like, okay, the knee moves like this, the foot moves like this is what's going on. Their hip internals like this is what's going on. How can I build an exercise around that to where we can get some stimulus there, whether it's an isometric, I mean, whether it's moving, concentric, eccentric, is it just holding a position? Are they sidelying? Like, I like thinking through those things. And I think for me, when I'm doing more of like intent training, I guess, where it's like move fast or whatever it is, you know, like that's cool. But I really enjoy solving those puzzles. So for me, like, I guess the quote we used to hear was like, oh, you blew your client up, which I still haven't been able to figure out what that means. Whether they're combustible or anything, but I enjoy when something flares up and I'm like, all right, Curtis, pull back, think, and let's go from there. So I think a lot of it comes down to the situations I had growing up where I can function well in that and be calm, but I enjoy the process of like, that didn't work well, or connecting dots to some aspect, you know? And I think the more knowledge you have, the better you can use those tools to make decisions. Like, I'll never forget, I went to Jacques FNS 1 up here, man. And they're like, you got to go. So, all right, I'm going to go. He was talking, Jacques, you were talking about things I was like, I weren't even in the, like, you know, in the forefront of my mind of like, yeah, somebody's stressed. Does their breast stink? Why could their breast stink? And I'm like, holy cow. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's like, and I'll never forget that because like that almost got me to where I was like, whoa, I need to zone in. And so I don't know. There's just so many things I don't think we're thinking about. And that's why I enjoy y'all and the people we've connected with over the years that, and I think you said it really well, Jacques, was the curiosity runs out. How do you keep yourself curious? Right? Like if I look at sports, it's a war of attrition. Who can handle the most stress over time before their stuff breaks? How much dosage of curiosity pushing can you handle on a daily basis to stay in this? A lot of people, they do is they go gung-ho, like I'm all in, right? Just like they do the exercise process. It's January 1st. I'm going to go every single day. And then they burn out. So how can you over time keep that curiosity right where we're nudging that needle? Okay, you're good. Hold on to that. Okay, let's nudge a little more versus people just shoot past it. And they're like, I'm burnt out, you know? So I think it depends person to person, but I think keeping that curiosity there is a crucial thing. And I hope that answers your question.
Could we flip that? If we were to put together a little framework to kill someone's curiosity, what would we do?
Make them feel dumb. Talk down to them.
Not challenge them. Have them not be challenged at all. Doing very simple, not thinking required tasks where they do the same thing over and over.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, do you mean from a client perspective, like we're talking to a client, or do you mean to like another trainer?
Our colleagues. Our friends and colleagues who are trainers, professionals. Because the question, the root of this question was actually, how do we stay curious?
Okay, gotcha.
And we you know, sometimes it's hard to know, well, why am I curious? You know, why are you guys curious? And we could try and formulate that. But then if we were to flip it around and kind of go, well, if we were to take this person and we wanted to diminish their curiosity, what would we do? Because then at that point, we could look at those variables and flip them back.
Get it, Jacques?
I don't know. I think maybe we would do what is often done is try to teach people the answer. If I tell you that this is the answer and I provide a test where you give me the answer, I don't have to be curious about that anymore because I have the answer.
Next answer, please.
Does anybody have the answer? I'm just trying to think. You know, does anybody really have the answer? I know we're talking about exercise, but if everybody's body is mapped differently, like if I'm saying from a nervous system perspective, how we used our body over the time, whatever it is any one exercise, like I'm not hooking people with stuff like you are, Jacques, but is any one exercise stimulating things the same way, or could it be based off of injury history, all this type of stuff? Like, is there ever a answer?
Well, I think you're going down like a potentially like moderately dangerous road around like cult group like behavior, because honestly, that's really it. Is that, I mean, how many different fitness people do we know that have, you know, they are the God level person of their world, and people come in and they go, Jacques has the answer. I mean, I don't know. My client's knee hurts on the inside, and Jacques goes, it is the big toe. And you're like, oh, well, good. Okay. So that's fine. So I'm going to go do the big toe. And then the knee gets a little better. And then there's a back problem. They go, the back pain. Jacques goes, it's the ear. And you're like, okay, great. I mean, and there's so much of that where it is, I mean, I understand for people who do not have that curiosity, perhaps, I'm not sure what it is, or don't like challenging. Maybe it's laziness. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, they love being a part of that group and like have confidence in knowing that the overseer has the answers. I don't know about you guys, but for me, that does, I don't like that. Like, I think that this is where, you know, the idea of the word consortia that I know you guys were working with for a while, I love that, because everyone has got some information that if coming together can create an incredible motion forward. I think. Jacques, what you got? I can see it percolating.
Well, there's a couple things to Michael's point, and is that one of the things that's nice about having a person, institute, or thing to look to for all of your answers is typically that thing is also purporting to solve sometimes the bigger thing that people are in this for, and that is to make sure I have enough people walking through the door and paying me, right? So if I have the solution that I can offer everyone who walks through that door, and if I don't, I have the person to call who will give me the solution, my life is so easy and it's so right, because as far as I'm concerned, my pain is solved, meaning I got money in the bank, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. And I've been told that I have the solution. So the other, I think the pain that some of our colleagues have is whether they are curious or not. Is curiosity typically rewarded? And how do we make sure that curiosity is rewarded and not and somehow punished, right? For example, it's hard to, it is, you have to be very skillful to say to a client, when the client says, I have pain in my shoulder and I got to lose all this weight, I'm pre-diabetic, can you fix me? Right? You have to be able to be skillful in saying, I don't know. Because if it's just that flat, you're now expecting this person to have a degree of evolution and sophistication that they may not have. Whereas if you had the ability to say the same thing, but in a very skillful way, you might have a client for life. Right? So curiosity on its face is not always rewarded.
Yes.
We have to help people understand the value of curiosity, and how do you talk about that with a potential client, right? So that even today, if they're not a client, even if you determine today that this person, they're in the wrong place, they will at least at some point go, that dude really had a different way of talking about this. And I think if it wasn't right for me, maybe Scotty should go over there. Right. He might get something from it, right? But I think that's a big part of it, Michael, is the unlearning of curiosity comes from selling a degree of security.
Yes.
Right. That if I can be secure in my lack of curiosity, then I'm good. I don't need to be curious, because frankly, if I'm too curious, people don't like that. They want to know an absolute.
I think I had a question to add on to that. Jacques, I feel like you've always been like that. Okay? Like you've always been curious, like since I met you. Right? And I if anything, it's something that I almost wasn't okay with being curious based off of, I'm not gonna get into that, but like growing up with stuff, gotta be, I gotta follow the rules, I gotta do this, I can't get in trouble, all this type of stuff. But I was innately like a curious person. And I'll never forget when I heard you like the route that class almost opened my mind because I was curious. I had a conversation with somebody like, dude, you got to come to this class. And I was okay. And then it was almost like like I felt like, and I've never said this to you, I felt like I was given permission it's okay to be curious. And it hasn't stopped since then. I think it was almost being held back to some aspect. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that class allowed me to be curious, and it's okay. And there's others like me that are curious because I feel like sometimes like I'm on an island by myself sometimes. Now I don't feel like that because you guys are all over. And what's cool is like where we're located on this globe. And I know there's more of us out there, you know, and I think that that's really cool. It's okay to be curious, but I think what you said is like, how do you articulate it? It's a sensitive thing to articulate. I don't know if this is the right place for you to be, but I think when people can understand that you're being genuinely caring about them, like who doesn't want to be cared about, right? Like you all genuinely are curious and genuinely care about people getting better. And don't get me wrong, we need to make money to live. It's a tool, right? But we're genuinely wanting to help that person with where they're at. We're trying to meet them where they're at. And I think that's what's really cool about that. And I found that not that people that aren't curious aren't genuinely helping people, but I found that it's okay to be curious. And I'll never forget that was like a permission slip to some aspect of like, no, you're okay. You're not nuts, Curtis. And so anyways, that's just a long thank you, but I just think that's really cool. Like hearing us talk about this topic.
I don't know what to say. I mean, yeah.
So
You're welcome, man. You're most certainly welcome. And it's, you know, like you said, it was in you, you know, and that's all any of us can ever ask is to be fortunate enough to meet people along the way that keep saying, be you.
Yeah.
Come on. The world needs you. Be you.
Very true.
You know,
very true.
So what do you guys see as Michael, you haven't weighed in on this. What do you see as the things that a colleague might be told that would stunt their curiosity, that would kill their curiosity, that would make curiosity the last thing that they would want to aspire to develop?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that if people are punished for not knowing the answer, or if saying I don't know was a failure, and failure is not good. And we do have to think when we're working with a client as a professional, we have to deliver, we have to be congruent and authentic and say I don't know when I don't know.
Right.
But say this is the path that we're taking. Here's the rationale, and this is how I'm going to measure. Like there's got to be a framework in place, but we've still got to be able to perhaps project a level of certainty when inside our mind we might be going, I got no idea, because we might not get that emotional buy-in to this process that's going to take this person 6, 12, 24 months. Yeah. And having the skill to do that is challenging. And so I think there's skills here to be learned. But I definitely think the environment of you know, let's explore together. And let's step into the unknown, and let's be comfortable with not knowing, and let's be comfortable with knowing how to figure this out. Because if we can figure this out, if we can map it somehow, if we can measure it, then it's entirely possible. But if your identity is based upon I do this, or if your identity is based upon I know this is the answer, or if this has worked for you and it feels so risky for you that I'm going to lose my job or I'm going to lose this client, for me to step out of this lane, that's a tricky one to solve.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's in there.
That's big.
You know what I think would be a really cool thing to cultivate though It's to say, you know what I really like? For some reason, I like, now don't laugh too hard about this because you got to hang with me. I like leather. I like leather. I like wood. And I like springs. And for some reason, I like those things. I like the way they feel in my hand. I like how they predictably move. I like the way they sound. And that's all I want to mess around with. I don't want to mess around with anything else, right? I can see how someone might find some tools that they really, really like.
Okay.
And they might have to figure out how to say, I'm going to be curious in this environment. And what I'm going to be curious about are what's all the stuff I can do in this environment, and what are some of the limitations of it? I simply cannot with this stuff.
Right.
Springs don't get big enough. The leather kind of gets a little tricky, and stuff could snap. You know, the tolerances aren't right. You know.
I love it.
I'm just saying, that's the other side of it. Is that I don't need someone to go, I'm as comfortable on a reformer as I am on a Olympic, platform.
Right.
But just to understand that whatever environment you choose to work in because you like it, cool. Just understand what it offers and perhaps what it might not.
Right.
Right.
You have to expand your palette. Like you have to take the palette of what's in front of you and just open it up.
Or what I'm saying is, no, you don't. You have to at least say, my palate is sushi. I don't do pork. This is my thing. And I want you to know that if you require other things, you need to go over there.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
As opposed to pretending like this thing is everything to everyone. Or that even this thing that I do is even healthy. Right? Because there's some stuff that'll make you look good that's not healthy. There's some massive achievements that you can have out there that are not healthy.
Right.
Right. I don't care what you tell me, running at 100 miles is not healthy. It's a hell of an achievement. It's an amazing achievement. It's phenomenal. Something that most humans can't do.
Right.
But you can't tell me that it's healthy.
I feel it.
And that's okay, as long as you're not saying, I'm doing this to save my life. No, you just did that you just got a little bit, you looked a little bit over the edge there, my friend. And that's okay. You see what I mean? Like I hear what you're saying, Brandon, that you want people to expand their palate, which is cool. But at the same time, there are going to be some people who are just sort of like, I got to tell you, I love my little palate. And please don't ask me to leave it. Would you just please help me understand my palate better, right?
Yeah.
And understand when my palate, if somebody wants to participate in my palate, I got to send them to your palate so that you can, fill in some shades,
Yep.
or maybe spackle a couple of things so we can,
Which I think is beautiful because that all comes back, in my opinion, to the curiosity thing. Because if you think of when I was really young, I mean, I did sports, but I also had this artistic side. I loved painting. And I don't know if you were super nerdy at all. If any of you have ever heard of Warhammer 40K, it's super nerdy. It's pewter war action figures. It's like a miniature board game. My first job was at a comic book store. It was awesome. But I was moderately okay at painting. And the store hired me at a young age to start painting their miniatures because I could do some cool color blending and stuff. And that was when I was 12.
Cool.
And then when I was 13, I saw this painting contest, and it was called Young Blood's the Goulden Demon Contest, and it was right. This is super nerdy, but it's going somewhere. It's super. So I tried to paint this miniature for this contest. I entered it. I did okay, but I didn't make the top three. And it was this interesting moment because for me, it's like they have the same thing as me, the same pewter toy, the same paints, the same rules, the same size thing. And something about the way they did it was different than the way that I did it. And it helped me become curious to figure out, well, how do I blend this smoother? How do I have this look sharper? How do I just change this just that little bit? And opened up the doorway to dry brushing. It opened my eyes to watercolor and whatever it was. And in a 1 year, it opened my eyes enough that I was able to get second place in Canada with this cool little contest from painting these toys. I'll find it if you guys want. It'll show how
you gotta post
super.
that, dude.
Yeah, I'll find it. It's at my
yeah.
mom's. It's still at my mom's house. It's super nerdy, but I love it. because for me, that was one of those moments at a young age to realize like I could spend a year focusing on something. And this season taught me that I can do something better than I did a year ago and like really make a change. And that blended into drums and career. And to this day, from a curiosity perspective, I wholeheartedly believe beside bureaucracy, pardon me, I can do anything I want.
Mm-hmm.
And if I set myself to a goal, aim at it. I don't care if it's, $1 million away or whatever it is. I just need to figure out, how do I paint my way there? What is it that's different about the guys over there with $1 billion and me over here with this small business? We have the same amount of time on this planet. We've got the same energy. We all have to sleep. We all have to poop. We're the same people. They just do different things with their time than I do. How do we figure out how to get there? And that's what, I love this, because this is the thing that's it's amazing about the human experience, is like putting aside the Jeff Bezoses. He did some stuff in his garage and now he's got a yacht with a yacht attached to it. Like, that's crazy. It's crazy. And so like, I don't need that level, but like, it's interesting to see that humans can do ridiculously crazy things. So this for me leads into a question I want to ask all of you, because I think this is kind of interesting. This is why I love this group, and anyone else that's a part of this that we've had on this. You are all, in my opinion, some of the most successful entrepreneurs. Like, I look up to you because you are successful. Both you've had some financial success. You have the ability to have a family. You have incredible studios. You have created education companies and consulting firms and all these things that are just top tier. My question I want to ask you is, what belief do you have that has served you to help you succeed? And then what is one belief that has not served you going forward? So what's one thing that you have believed or learned to believe that has helped you succeed? And then what is one belief that you have had that slowed down your success? Curtis, what about you, man?
Ooh, what's one belief I have? Well, I don't know. My wife's always told me, well, she vetted me pretty tough. She vetted me, she vetted me, I think, for certain characteristics and like attributes and so forth for who I am. But she said, I've never met anybody that when they say that they're going to do something, that it happens. Right. And that's why I think when you're talking about the paintbrush thing, right, I think for me, like she says, I have this childlike faith where it's like, if I have this idea, or she calls me a dreamer and she's like the executor. I'm a better executor now, much better now. But she would call me a dreamer. Like, you'll have these ideas and you will work backwards and figure out how to make them happen. And that's what I think I've always had. And when I leaned into that more, that's when I think I was able to actually like see the fruition of those things happening. One thing I think that held me back was that I believe statistics. And what I mean by that, and I'm going back to my upbringing of like the household I grew up in, whatever it is, that I shouldn't be able to achieve these certain things because I'm starting off lower on the totem pole, quote unquote, when really I realized at one point that doesn't matter. Like you just said, Brandon, we have the same amount of hours, the same amount of resources to some aspect. And how do I perform above that? And I remember one of my godfathers, he told me, he said, Curtis, you got to play. He always said, play better than the ref or play better than the umpire. And so there may be that bureaucracy or whatever else is going on or what culture's doing, but I don't need to operate in that, and I can rise above that. And I think that when I truly leaned into my dreamerness or whatever you want to call it, I realized that was a made up fallacy, what others were trying to define for me when they didn't really know who I was and what I had inside me. And so I think that's kind of like where I'm at essentially. Like I believe in myself. Like I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I believe that if I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it, like hands down. Right. Like I know, I forgot who said it. I think Brandon said it. I know that I can do anything I put my mind to. I just have to figure out the steps to get there, and I'm going to get there. And I will sacrifice other things. I'll have delayed gratification of buying certain things or whatever it is to achieve that goal, because it's going to set me up for later on down the road. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm okay with delayed gratification. And if that goal of mine, if I value it enough, my behaviors and actions will match that. So that's kind of where I guess I'm at.
I love that, man.
Strong man.
Before I want to hear the same answer from Michael, but I found the image online of my little Warhammer. Do you guys want to see it real fast?
Yeah, let's see it.
Pull this thing up, dude.
So let's see
Wow.
if you guys can see this.
Look at that.
So this is 13-year-old Brandon. Keep in mind.
Look at that, man.
The thing, this is little, like a 7.5 inch figure, and anyways, it's in my mom's house right now. But it was cool. Anyways,
I love it, dude. That's tight.
Wow, man.
Anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah. Michael, same question for you for the beliefs. Curse, I love your answer. Michael, where's what makes that brain tick?
There's two things that are competing in my head for what that may be. I think one of the things from a young age that I was really comfortable with was this idea of being different. If everyone went in this direction, I'd go in that direction. If everyone was dyeing their hair blonde, I'd dye my hair ginger. If everyone was wearing blue, I'm going to wear orange, that sort of thing. And just, this desire to be different, which means that,
awesome,
I opened a studio at a young age with the kind of thing, everyone's kind of going down this path. And I'm like, well, why would I not do this? What's the worst that's going to happen? And that was the kind of, that's every step. When I first found out about RTS, and it was, it was really a case of, I got to fly to this place called Oklahoma, and it's like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? Let's book it, and not really kind of do that much. It's just kind of like this. Let's just go, and there was a willingness to kind of just do that, just go for the experience. And the experience was the thing that I was searching for, and as getting as many different experiences as possible. So there's this idea of being not traditional, being outside of the group.
Right.
The flip of that is this sense of not belonging and being isolated and being a loner and being comfortable with that and being comfortable in my own space. But also there's barriers where you're like, who am I to be here? And I'm feeling kind of grateful because of where I come from is you don't leave my town, my city. You don't go to university. University was not on I never went to university. I did a master's later in life. So there's this kind of, thing where you're always not feeling like you belong in this and not feeling like you can actually expect something or demand something from people. And so there's this kind of, thing that I cherish and, relish, this idea of doing something different for this experience. And that's created this environment that I have today. And, I struggle on the flip side of that. And it's a constant thing to seek out my people and to know that I can kind of lean in and create those connections like I have with you guys,
right?
To really, build that community. And the community is the thing that I seek, that I never really sought when I was younger, but now I'm seeing the value in that as I'm finding my people. Takes that takes time.
It's kind of fun because I think that this our community of people, regardless of methodology and how you believe things, I think there's some people who have different beliefs than others, and that's fine. But that's what I love about the Avengers and how I feel like our little world is that Jacques over there, Michael's across the pond in his grass hut, Curtis is on the football field, Charlie's in his basement lab, Tom's tearing machines apart, and everyone's different, and not everyone gets along, but everyone's thinking about things sort of in a similar way. And it's like the team of the Avengers, right? And that's what I love about that idea is, unlike other teams that work like Fantastic Four where they're all together, it's the Avengers are all these different nomadic individuals that have got their own lives, their own world. They're changing things. They're really trying to do their best, or maybe they're not, but together they really have something more powerful together. And that's where, I think Michael's kind of like the evil guy that does great things across the pond. But seriously, we all have common threads. And that's where I love I'm super excited about having all this stuff happen is because I think of everyone here as like brothers in a sense and sisters, because I know if I run into Curtis, Michael, Jacques, Charlie, Johnny Cook, whomever it is elsewhere, I know it's like we're the same tribe, even though we're not, and I love it. I think it's just super cool. I think it's super cool. Super cool. So
Yeah,
Michael,
that reminds me of something too. Like there's a guy I've been following for a while. His name's Thomas Sowell. He was part of the Hoover Institute, and he studied civilizations for a while. And he talked about the civilizations that thrived were the ones that were ports. And because people would come into port, share ideas, and then go. And so it was like a hub of like sharing ideas, right? Versus just the resources aspect. And I thought that was interesting because I feel like whenever social media and this streaming stuff has almost been like a port for me, and like going to classes, and we're able to grow and thrive together with a common goal of being better, or whether it's rooted in curiosity or whatever it is. And that's why I think this is really cool, Yeah.
Jacques, belief that has made you awesome and belief that has made you slow down your awesomeness.
That's it. Yeah, kind of like Michael and Curtis. There are two things that were in my head. One of my beliefs is that I'm on this planet to be of service, and tied to that is I believe in the promise of exercise. I really do. I believe that when we move our minds, when we move our bodies, or wait a minute. Hold on. When we move our, which one is it? What are we moving? Our minds or our bodies? I don't know. Anyway, when we move our bodies, that there really is this tremendous potential to shift our health. Not only our physical health, but our mental health, our social health, our economic health. And the research and the data is there that shows that it can be really helpful, but it's got to be strategically put together. And so that's a core belief that I think has really helped me kind of keep leaning into this thing. I think something that's held me back is I'm not sure. I think just not understanding like the fundamentals of managing resources and acquiring new resources, just having a real, aversion almost to the business end of things. And partly out of, part of that is, fear. I don't want anything. I never wanted the light on me. And then the other part is just ignorance and not studying it, and realizing that, you need to at some point study some finance, dude. Study some how true practices can turn into a business, right? What's that really like? But I guess that's not really a belief. I can't think of the belief that was in my way, but great question. I'm sorry I can't come up with that that end of it.
Your thought process is always perfect, so I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
All right. Well, Curtis, what you got, man? You got a question? You're fresh, man. I like it.
Question, man. I mean, I don't really have a specific one right now, but no, to be honest, I don't have one. I'm still kind of debriefing from the questions and the answers that have been said so far, so I don't have a full-on question. I was curious about Jacques' first question. I enjoyed that. Like, how do you keep things going? Or I guess I can add to this. Well, how do you know, it's based off of Jacques, but maintain the curiosity over time? How have you guys known when to add something else in business-wise or to pivot what you're doing? Whoever wants to go first. Let's let Brandon go first. How about Brandon goes first?
Sure. Yeah. So how do I know when to change direction or to keep going? I mean, it's a really good question. I think there's got to be, I mean, thinking out loud, I think there's a component of like, I mean, improvisation a little bit and intuition when you're doing something. But at the same time, for me, I've always tried to make any movement forward as tracking metric based as possible. I mean, either, you think about wealth. Are you wealthy? There's two ways to become wealthy: make more money or decrease your expenses, right? So if you're trying to create a course, you're trying to get more clients, you're trying to make more money, you're trying to help a team member grow. If you can try to, I mean, at least in my mind, I always kind of look at simply in pluses or minuses. Is this thing progressing some way through a process, going a direction towards the island that we're trying to go towards, or is it not? And if it's not, that could be okay, but do we need to change it? Like, for example, with me, if I'm trying to grow my business and I need to have the numbers be at a certain spot, that's math. That's very much like, okay, I need 3 new students in my program each month, which means if I'm going to talk to 200 people and the conversation goes to 50 and 50 turns into 25 sales calls and 25 sales calls turns to 5 people that invest, then that's pretty good. If I'm not getting 3 people, then my numbers don't line up. That's math. And for me, that's just, figuring that out. Where it might not be going fast is if I've got a trainer that works here and I'm trying to help them learn traits and beliefs and skills so they can grow their business. Well, there might be a time where you say, hey, listen, I want you to go try and talk to 10 new people this week. Right. They might not talk to 10 new people next week because they're stifled with fear or anxiety. And that becomes an entire exploration. And that's where I think it's really neat. And where there's that billionaire mindset that you might not make forward progress, but the lack of forward progress will give you a roadmap of figuring out, well, what is it that stopped me from going in the direction that I want? Was it fear? Do I believe I can get there or not? If I have the belief I can get there and I mechanically didn't get there, what didn't happen that has to happen to get to that point? So if, it's like, do you have the skills to get to where you want to be? And do you have to change directions? Do you have the traits to get there? And do you have the beliefs, which is why I like that question. Do you believe you can succeed? Do you believe that you can make more than $100,000 per year? Do you believe you can make more than $40,000 a year? If you have all those things going and you're happy with where you're going, I should say, in this particular example, then that all lines up. But the thing that I would always ask if someone, like if I was having this conversation with someone I was trying to support and they had a direction and they were unhappy with their progress. Well, what is it that you're unhappy about the progress and where can we make a change there? So I don't know if I answered the question well, but it's, I think it's a fun exploration. I really, really do.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Michael, what you think, man?
Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I'm gonna repeat it
because I was so listening to Brandon's smooth voice that I kind of got sucked into what
it was
saying.
Real smooth. Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly.
And it's Friday night here in London. It's like the tequilas have already been out.
There you go. So Jacques was saying, like, how do you maintain the curiosity? And what I was saying is, how do you know when to or do you know when you need to like pivot? Right, whether it's add in a different service, add in a different way, like to pivot. Like I got Brandon's point of like, how do I nurture this person? But say we're doing training and you're like, man, this is going good, but I feel like I need to pivot over here and change things. Like, how do you know when to do that?
I guess zooming out and being really clear with a couple of things. One, for me, is really understanding what my core values are. What's really important to me. So what's really important to me, and I can see this in you guys, is this concept of freedom to explore, making an impact on people, and a bunch of other things. So you've got these kind of core values that are really important. How do I want to spend my days? Like, what do I want today to look like? And being really micro on that, like I want to come and speak to you guys now, and that's this is the kind of stuff that I want to do, and I want to work with people, and I want to teach people, and I want to play with Felix, and I want to travel, and these getting really clear with what you want to do now, and then having some sort of long-term vision. And that long-term vision might be really, detailed, or it might be that this is the trajectory. This is kind of where I'd like to be in 5 years or 10 years, and that might be a little fuzzy. But I always kind of come back to what do I want life to be. So
Right.
so I guess that over the years since I've had a studio, since even before then, I moved to London, and when I moved to London, that was me at that moment in time kind of going, yeah, I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? Because this and this. What do I want to do? Well, I want to go to this place because this is the type of job that I want to do. And 2 weeks later, I just moved. And that kind of goes back to that kind of non-traditional, well, I'm just going to leap. So it's kind of, someone once said that I had a chip on my shoulder, meaning because I really knew where I wanted to do, or I knew what I want to do at this time. So I guess that serves as my compass. The pivot, it comes down to those things. It comes down to those values and how do I want my life to look? How do I want it to feel? What do I want to be doing? And where do I want the trajectory? And so that's it. And there's no more, there's more depth than that.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's really
Michael, I love the way you think about things.
Yeah.
I do. Actually, I like how the way everybody here thinks about things. Michael's, your delivery. I think you got the tone and the softness with your voice, and it's just all like so good. I love it, man.
Don't do the accent, man. Don't do that.
No, but you the way you think about things.
I turned Irish.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. That's what I was thinking.
No, but you've got this great way of like how you analyze your life. And I mean, I think of it when I met you like 10 or 12 years ago at RTS Mastery. And even then you had this like grounded, philosophical, free thought process that no matter who you were speaking to, be it a student or Tom, like at that time, thinking about like all the levels in the room, you could always ask someone that would sit someone down and they would think about things. And I just love that. So yeah,
I agree.
rock. You rock.
I would agree with that observation. All right, Jacques, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said already, and thinking about your values and how things are going. And then I think the thing that really gets my attention that says, hey, we got to pivot is pain. There's some kind of pain somewhere. Kind of go, am I experiencing the pain of clients not shifting the way they expect? Am I experiencing the pain of not enough clients walking through the door? I'm feeling the pain of a full schedule but not feeling fulfilled and satisfied. Am I feeling the pain of I don't know, sharing information in the class but just feeling like people are not really using the information? Like and that will once I have my values, I see that they're being expressed in what I do, then it's sometimes it's about little points of pain that come up. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought, right? And I think the thing that I still haven't quite figured out, because if you're just waiting for pain to tell you that you need a course correction, it's harder to make the course corrections for the longer term thing, right? You find yourself like 10 years down the road and you're just going, holy crap, there was no pain that let me know that I wasn't getting as far as I wanted, right? So there's another type of sensitivity that I'm still trying to develop that will allow me to be a little more nimble, a little bit faster, so I don't have to be on top of the iceberg before I come up with the heroics to get around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, man. That's super cool.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I got a couple of questions for you guys.
Let's do it.
So, and this is more on a practical nature, because lots of people that you guys speak to want to open their own facility, their gym, and obviously you guys have got your own place. We're here. What are the benefits and cons to having your own place?
I can go first. Benefits are I found that I can create a culture and environment that I want to create, right? I don't have to try and create a mini culture environment within another environment, which has been great. So like we can set the tone of what we want here and what our values are, what we stand for, right? Curiosity, growing, discussions, getting better, we're here to help you however it is. So like creating that, right? So I think it's been crucial. On the flip side, there are a lot of things that pop up that you may not have ever thought of. That could be, to me, how I look at it is like, not to say this is totally 100% true, but every client walks in the door is to some aspect your boss. You think that when you open a space, you are the boss. Yeah, you're managing the space and it's your world and stuff, but it's a mutual relationship. And if they want to step into that world, then great. And then there's obviously, the basics of, market value rent going up, all this different type of stuff that you may not have thought of, right? Like what's normal market value, right? Do you need a conditional use permit based off the space that you're in? What are the, like you said, Brandon, the politics or the laws that are in place that you have to understand to step forward into that. So there's a lot of little things I think that pop up over time, but I would, to me, that's nothing. To me, creating an environment to where people can thrive is why I wanted to do this. Because then I would attract people that were also in that same mindset. Like I want to find more of y'all in here, like, dude, I was thinking about this or blah, blah. Like, oh yeah, I was thinking about this too. Just a random discussion versus like, bro, did you hear about that new like hypertrophy program? And I'm like, super cool, dude. Yeah, I read that. That's cool. Versus like, okay, let's get into this a little bit. It's almost like, can we get to the meat instead of, can we get past drinking milk? Like, I'm not a baby anymore. Let's get to eating some meat. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the environment that I wanted to build here. I say for me though, the pros outweigh the cons, in my opinion. But it's just how you want to set things up. So yeah, and there's a lot of people you can talk to and ask questions. It's a great question.
It's really good.
Word up.
Jacques. How about you, Jacques?
How about me? And it was why open your own space? Why should you?
The pros and the cons of having your own facility.
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't mean to sidestep it, but I keep thinking, well, that depends on who's asking. Like I know that for me, the pros are exactly what Curtis laid out. You get to create your own environment, the culture. You get to how you have your values fully expressed in your workplace, and that's just phenomenal. And you get to invite other people to share in that. And what I'm hoping, and I never thought that I would think this way, but what I'm actually hoping is that somebody will bring an additional value or a facet to the values that are already expressed that I'll be like, holy crap, I never thought of that. Of course we should be celebrating that, lifting that up, creating a space for that. And then the cons. At this point, it feels very much like asking a fish, well, what do you think it would be like to be on the shore? I'd be like, well, that would suck. I wouldn't be able to make it at all, right? Like I can't. So I can't imagine what the pros would be of being on shore since I'm a fish. This is my environment. This is where I live. And even though there might be some pollution in here every now and then, I'll deal with it. Yeah, it's definitely challenging, but I wouldn't have it any other way, man. Unless I was working for one of you guys, then I'd be okay.
I'll pay for your moving expenses. You can come here anytime you want. Let's go. Yeah. So Michael, for you, I think the pros for me go, I think it's autonomy and scalability. And it started off that, I mean, I would say that with Strata, I had no intentions of opening a place. To be honest, I think that, opening a place as individuals, hiring clients, if you're working as a contractor somewhere, I mean, you are your own business. Like you kind of opened a very small place, depending on where you are. You might be renting space from a big space. And I was operating as my own business for a long time. Where I decided to make the jump, there were two reasons, but one of them was really, I was so limited with my clients in the place that I was at, even though I was in a gigantic gym with amazing equipment, the environment and the culture, thank you, Curtis, honestly was limiting, where people were uncomfortable coming in because it was this big red ironclad gym that had all the old Nautilus and Cybex machines. It was sick, but it smelled like sweat and there were big bodybuilders there and my rent was cheap, but people didn't feel safe. So I opened this place because of all of the little variables that I'd learned through Tom and various programs. I was limited in that environment, which meant my clients were getting less value, even if I could be completely creative. And the reality is being extremely creative was taking up time in the session and costing the client money. Like if I could put up this band, put this thing on the back of their elbow to make this machine work, that's great. But what if I could have a machine that just did that? And that would save me 3 minutes in a session and so on and so forth. So like the autonomy of that end was a big part of it. And then what I've really come to love is the scalability of it. Once you have that culture, it's cool because you start helping people and you do a really good job. And you've got, I don't want to say like you have a thought process and people would recognize that. Not you, but your whole facility does. People catch the team and they go, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of this philosophy. I like this idea. And then the scalability is not just like economical, but it's also like, it's your mind. I mean, I have Eric Patchell here. I mean, maybe you guys might not know him, but he's one of my trainers. It's his birthday today. He's great. And he's got a bunch of great ideas and he brings ideas when we're doing study groups and I learn from him and I learn from each person. And so we all get to scale our knowledge and our resources. And I love that. I mean, that's where I will never go back. And if this thing folds, I will do it again in a different way, because at the end of the day, I love how this all feels. The biggest cons, I would say, it's honestly metrics. Really, it comes down to just there's so much more to do with running a business than I ever thought. And it's like, of course, there's like accounting, administrative stuff and small like that. But like, you're also like a people manager. You have some custodial responsibilities until your cleaner comes in. Because otherwise, if you don't clean up that thing on the floor over there, it's going to be there until someone comes and cleans it. If you've got staff, like I've got a moderate, not huge, but a decent sized team. If one of my team members, and there's something around the COVID stuff that comes out and there's a mandate around something and they disagree with it, I have to have a conversation and talk. And that takes hours of times to try and make sure that everyone on the team maybe isn't happy, but we're all going the same direction somewhat together. That's I would say is like the only like con is there are so many things that pop up. Like 30 minutes, yes, perfect example. Yesterday, we have a water service that brings water, right? They sent me this bill with this huge receipt on it. They said call immediately. I had to call them, update my credit card, change something on my file. It took 30 minutes. I was on the phone with a water company, right? And it was just like, I could have done so much. Pardon my French. I could have done so much more with that. And those things happen from time to time, right? The Visa, the terminal, the debit terminal doesn't work, and you have to call the bank because you've got anyway, whatever. So I think that those are the cons. If I could get rid of all but that's also the art of it too, because all those little details come together and create something beautiful. So I don't know. I love it though. I love it. I mean, I can tell you guys all love it because I mean, Curtis, you opened your place when you were young. Michael, you opened places when you were young. Jacques, you're still young, and you've opened like 3 places now. It's awesome, man. I love it.
Yes.
Hey guys, I hate to be the one that has to bail, but I've got to run. I got somebody coming in like 5 minutes. I got to kind of get my intentional improvisation.
I like it.
I said purposeful, but I like intentional.
Purposeful. No,
I like intentional. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I too.
Love it, man.
All right, guys. Well, listen, this was an absolute blast. Jacques, Curtis, Michael, thank you so much. And let's give it a few months and let's do this again if you guys want. I think this is a lot of fun.
I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for paying attention. Follow Curtis, follow Michael, follow Jacques. Curtis, what were you going to say? I interrupted you.
No, I was saying like this. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was great.
I appreciate you guys too.
Yeah,
no doubt.
All right. Until next time.